Alright, welcome back to another random flight video. I said just do something, I'm just going to do something really kind of quick. I'm just kind of curious how this looks. I'm going to fly around the Key West area. Mostly just around here, because originally I thought maybe doing it from, you know, like Miami and stuff with the slow propeller plane. You know, some little, you know, smaller, easier to kind of guide around, hopefully slower. But that was a good, like, 40, 50 minutes, you know, it would have been like a good 40, 50 minutes from here. And obviously it'd be pretty, but, you know, there's only so much I could probably talk about. And honestly, most of the interesting stuff is probably around Key West Island and this little area here. So we're going to do that. Fortunately, I'm going to have to turn off. I'm going to turn off live weather. It looks like it's kind of cloudy in the area today. And it doesn't look too heavy, but hard to say. So, but anyway, yeah, let's just look this up. So, anyway, I have not been to Key West. Definitely a bucket list. Reason, you know, one, I've heard so many good things of people that have been down there. Very beautiful. And obviously, Key West Island is really this, you know, the town island, or the, you know, quote, city, I guess. It's not huge by any means. I think it's like, you know, maybe, you know, like 20, 30,000 people, if that. I don't know. Let's see. Let me pull it up actually right now with my little tablet here. So the population in Key West, yeah, 24, yeah, about 25,000, a little under 25,000. It's been pretty much in that same range for, you know, 30 plus years, because obviously the island is developed as far as it can, unless they want to start, I guess, you know, creating more space into the sea. You know, you kind of like what you see like with some of the airports and stuff overseas, but I doubt it. I mean, it's pretty. You know, it's almost like, it's kind of unique in a way you think of it. It's the southernmost part of the U.S. It's only 90 miles from Cuba, and it's kind of like, you know, it's obviously American in all the sense with like the signs and the people, but then it's like its own little world, this little island just, you know, really south of one of the most populous states, but by a good like couple-hour drive roughly, I think, you know, to Miami. So, because I know like by plane it's like still a good. Like, I mean, granted, it's a propeller plane, so I know that's super fast. But just from, like, one of the southern airports, I mean, this is, like, south of Homestead. So this is, like, some random airport. And it was, like, you know, 30-plus minutes. Direct. Like, that's if I didn't go over the whole island. So that was just kind of, like, direct from there to Key West. So probably, you know, it's probably a decent 45 minutes or an hour flight, roughly, on, like, a small regional jet. From Miami, I should say, or let's say Fort Lauderdale, if that was an option. So we're taking off. Actually, there's a huge Naval Air Base right next to it. Let this load real quick. So yeah, this is good. This is actually very detailed here. I'm very impressed. So this is Key West. This is the big Naval Air Base. It's obviously a very important one for a couple reasons. Is one, due to the, you know, year-round warm weather, they basically can, you know, continue to do, like, you know, obviously a lot of training, especially in terms of the Air Force and Navy. Here we go. So, yeah, I think it's an air naval station. You know, multiple runways. I mean, look at this. It's pretty big. So, I see when it hits 80, we'll start pulling up. Actually, this is like a perfect plane for down here. Yeah, it's kind of neat. Like, the island's almost like just made of sand, really, too. See, you even got water coming in here a little bit. Well, this is satellite imagery, so it could be a little off. I'm going to turn that off a little. I'm going to go east, so I picked the runway, actually. I just want to go east to these islands a little bit, so. Talk about a little history here that I was kind of looking up online, just out of curiosity, because that's kind of why I love doing these videos. Kind of something to learn about different areas I haven't been to, some areas I will, you know, revisit I have been to and talk about my own experience. But this is not an area I've been to. So yeah, it really started developing in the 20th century. What's really neat, so this is like the main highway, which, all right, I think that's good enough. Lower this a bit. Go. This is like the main highway here. It used to be like a railway until I was a little confused. Couldn't tell if like a storm destroyed it or something. But anyway, they redid it and made it into the highway in 1938. This is like during the FDR administration, and pretty wild to think about. Just kind of like because the interstate system didn't really come in, and this is actually not an interstate still, but when you see it, it looks kind of like interstate. 2 lanes each side, separated. There's not really any mini, let's say, middle roads completely elevated, obviously because of the water. So, and it was built like in the 1930s, so it's kind of like almost, it's kind of like one of the first, like, let's say modernish highway you would think of in terms of today's standards. So, in a way. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of wild just kind of looking this up, because I thought this little area is always kind of interesting. So, obviously this was, Florida was part of Spain one time. I tried to look. It was a little hard. I think there used to be some forts and stuff, but obviously with storms and stuff over the years, it's always hard to say we survived. And see, because, you got, like, I mean, these islands are pretty, it's not really like there's a lot of room for development. And obviously right off the highway there's some here, and then we'll get a little lower here. It looks like it's going in the water, but it is slightly above. Because I know this is going to be mostly AI's doing here. Yeah, and it's weird. I see a lot of these little airstrips I've seen, so I'm not sure. Just little private airports or a landing strip. So, now some cool other facts down here that I was looking online that I didn't know is a good example. So, Pan American Airlines, one time one of the world's, one of the most recognizable brands in the U.S. worldwide. They started down here in Key West, and it was a mail route, down here in southern Florida, basically, and to Cuba at the time, because it was still, it wasn't, before Castro. I wouldn't say it was quote a puppet state. I think that's not entirely right, but obviously a lot of U.S. government backing of the government at the time. So, but yeah, they originally started down here. They were flying Visitor Von in the 20s, and also acted as a mail route for the U.S. Postal Service, which is actually how a lot of these airlines originally started, especially the old ones like United or TWA and stuff. I mean, they were basically like contractors for the United States Postal Service, help move mail around the U.S. And, and this is like a time where it wasn't like the economic model was completely different. It isn't like today, where the goal is to pack the plane as many people as possible. Then it was just kind of more like, okay, we're going from New York to Chicago. We're going to have about 3 or 4 stops with a lot of mail, and then we'll have some passengers, like true business travelers. But that was about it. And it wasn't really until, until let's say, really after World War II, maybe even before that, but really after World War II, it really, airlines became more of a passenger thing. It became about trying for business or leisure, especially with the explosion of the jet era, where all of a sudden you're not basically getting on a plane and you're hopping. It takes like 2 or 3 stops just to go. Let's say it would be like a 2 or 3 hour flight today. Then all of a, but then all of a sudden it became possible. You can fly from New York to Chicago directly. Didn't need to have to stop with mail or get fuel or whatever anymore. So it became much more feasible. Anyway, but yeah, a little interesting about the airline industry down here, and obviously it's a proximity to Cuba, very, very strategic. I mean, obviously probably not, I wouldn't say now, but during the Cold War, I can definitely see that Naval Air Station being a big impact, because you had the Cuban, Missile Crisis and so forth. You had a naval station down here. I mean, it's just right there. It's about, it's 90 miles, so this plane probably not, but probably with a jet, you could probably beat it in 20, 30 minutes roughly. I'm guessing, just thinking how fast it can go. So, but yeah, you can look at it. They're almost like very sandy islands. They're not, like the water's narrow here, but, obviously you're not really above sea level by any, you're only like a few feet above sea level from the looks of it. Scattered over here. I mean, just from just kind of like a natural perspective, it's very fascinating just how they look. Like, almost reminds you of something you might see like the atolls in the Pacific or something. It said, no, this is really, south, basically, the southernmost part of the U.S. Yeah, so there's another little airport. I did see there were some actual planes flying in this area today. Obviously, probably going to Key West. So, obviously, they do have an international airport, but most of the flights are mostly like, let's say up north to Miami and stuff. But there's a few things. Like I saw Chicago's got a couple seasonal flights down here on both American and United. You can fly to Key West straight from Newark as well on United, as an example. So they do have some, long flights. Those are good 3.5, 4-hour flights right there. So they can definitely handle at least a good, a good-sized plane, like probably the 737, the Airbus 320. I doubt they can handle like the 747, but who knows? Maybe one is big enough. So, all right, start turning around here. Yeah, I mean, this can go on for literally. You can like do this for a good hour up and down this coast. So, they want to see if the bridge. Actually, we could probably get kind of low. Let's see. Not too low, so I don't land in the water by accident. Okay, it looks like they did make it. At first I'm like, is that underwater? It's like, no, okay, they did raise it up. Yeah, just look at the blue. Even like, it's kind of neat to see how different colors the waters look depending where you are in the world in this game. They did a really good job, because when you do think of this part of Florida, you think more of kind of like this nice, very light bluish, not like a dark blue like you see, let's say, in, like near Los Angeles or something, or New York, up in the North Atlantic. Yeah, more houses and development here. And obviously, most of the industry down there is all related to tourism. Biggest downside, it's obviously very exposed to hurricanes. It did get hit pretty hard about 3 years ago with hurricane, I think it was Irma. Yeah, it was Irma. So, and I remember that, literally the eye went over. It was pretty devastating. And, it's not like it happens every year, but it's definitely, let's say compare the Carolinas or something, which will get hit hurricanes. It seems a lot more common down there, because it's just in the path. I mean, you've got, for one, the hurricanes aren't going to really weaken through here. It's all warm waters, not much land. It's got to be like, if it went over Cuba and then into Key West, then it probably would not regain as much strength as it headed to Florida. But, it's kind of like right in the path, go through here. Sometimes it's going through here on its way to the Gulf, then it turns north. So, it's probably as much as, it is probably a paradise down here, but that's the one big risk. Now, this is kind of interesting. You look at this. You can tell this was obviously man-made here. They probably repurposed the land here for it. And it looks like, if you're rich, you can, move your boat in there. That's kind of neat. So. I'm kind of neat to, can't wait to kind of actually fly over Key West, see if anything kind of sticks out that didn't mark it. Like as a dot. So, I pulled up some stuff, they got like an old church there, and, they have an area called Old Town, which is, probably a lot of the, maybe related to the Spanish Empire, to, really some of the earliest developments in the region. Yeah, so I got this. So a lot of the structures can go all the way back to the late 19th century. Yeah, wood frame construction. Pretty amazing. I mean, I'm sure they had probably been rebuilt also over time, some of it, but pretty impressive. They try to at least keep, and that's what I've heard from people that've been down there. Try to keep that old look. It's historic feeling. Look to it. So, and I mean on the main island, not these little kind of like small little developments and some of the other nearby islands. I mean, we're the main island as we head back towards Central Key West, past the Naval Air Base there. Keep following the highway till it ends. I'm actually, believe it or not, I just kind of thought of this. I think I may try something down later on. Because, I was originally going to go to Taiwan, for example, but the first islands to Japan are pretty close to Taiwan, and there's like, you know, it's kind of like something similar. You know, not a huge development, but like maybe like a couple towns, something like this size, or maybe a little like Key West. You know, on the very edge of Japan, they even do something similar. It'd be like, you know, like a big pillar that says Western edge of Japan, which I doubt we'll see the pillar exactly from the air, but it'd be kind of neat to see. I will say, going through here, I am surprised and impressed how there's a little more development than I would have thought. You know, I didn't think there'd be this many houses on these smaller islands, kind of like outside the big, you know, the Naval Air Base, and all through here, basically. Yeah, kind of learned something new. It's just gorgeous. Obviously, I did turn off the weather though. It's not sunny today. It's cloudy today. Not sure if it storms or anything. Just know it's cloudy. I'll say this is kind of a perfect plane just to kind of fly around casually. I'm just looking at a truck. It's just kind of going really weirdly. And it looks like a semi-truck. Trying to go onto a cul-de-sac. Alright. I'm just amazed how amazing this game looks. Even on medium. I'm trying to think if there's technically a national. Oh yeah, there's a Key West National Park actually. Pull that up. Yeah, because when I've been down to Miami, I've been down to Miami a lot over the years, mostly for baseball and other things. But you know, there's been times I keep thinking about going to Key West, but it's just normally when I'm down, I'm only down to like 3-4 days, and it's not. Unfortunately, it's a long day trip. I don't even know if you can actually make it a day trip. It's like really you almost have to go down here and then kind of. Then come back. Yeah, so I got my map here. Yeah, this Dry Tortugas National Park. It looks like there's a whole fort there. Let's see if we can find that from the air. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks like it's on the main island. There's our naval base again. Oh. That's a little ways out. So look at this. There's actually a national park. Yeah, over here. Interesting. Oh, I wish I knew that. Probably would have gone west first and come back. Yeah, it's a bunch of coral reef islands over here. Ooh, so speaking of airlines, here you go. That's Delta Airlines. I think they do fly here from Atlanta. No idea how many people are flying nowadays, especially down here with everything going on. But yeah. There's the Air Force Base. This has got to be part of the Air Force Base. Buildings and training facilities. Baseball field and stuff. It's a pretty big pretty big station down here. Looks like. I assume this whole island is theirs. So. Yeah, now we're going to the final approach of Key West. Actually got several flights coming in today. Look at that. Delta. Not sure what airline that is or this one. Oh, this is just gorgeous. I need to get down here a Now you see, this is pretty developed, but you know, there's really not much more room you can really expand down here. Unless you want to start building up, I think that would really take away from, you know, the island. You know, let's say you start putting skyscrapers and condos, like large condos and stuff like those. I need a little golf course here. I don't know if it's public or private. Yeah, it looks like there's some, like, you know, condos development here, obviously. But, you know, again, that's not tall. It's probably like 3-4 stories at most. And it is the main airport. Pointing down a bit. This is actually looks pretty detailed. There's a mall and plaza. I'm pretty surprised. It's kind of interesting where you find some of these, you know, United States have much more detail than others, and I'm not entirely sure how they decide that. If it was like touch upon more. I mean, obviously, if I get really low, the houses won't be as good from this angle, but it looks pretty accurate to where you are, not like very misplaced like, you know, some other areas. I mean, look at that. That looks good. Looks like a school. Oh way. Yeah, I mean, this is basically the most southern edge city of the U.S. right here. Oh, that's interesting. Looks like a big old cemetery here. Ooh. This might be Old Town. Looks like an old church, cemetery. Very, like, you know, a lot more, I don't know, claustrophobic is not the right word, but definitely a lot more, you know, buildings closer together, not as spaced out, look older. Oh, that's cool. Look at it. We got finally see my first cruise ships. I know they're in the game, like you can see them parked randomly, just haven't come across them. Makes sense, obviously a big cruise destination. Oh, this pit stop. Alright. You know, they didn't mark this, so I know when I go over it, it'd be like, I've done another couple forts. I went over a fort in Macau. Very disappointed, it's just blob. Oh shit. That's not good.
500.
Key West Tower Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra is 4 miles west with Echo to land. Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Key West Tower. Enter left downwind runway 27. Altimeter 29er decimal 9er to wind 275.
I can't see if I'm on the right side. Screw it. We'll just,
Enter left downwind runway 27 Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra.
Ooh. There we go. Get position.
500.
See how this goes. I think that looks good. Continue. Landing is fun because it's just so challenging sometimes. Alright, I'm only about 100 feet above. I think that's good. 80. Ooh, there we go. 70.
Stall. 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 Stall.
Beechcraft X-Ray Golf Sierra, you were not cleared to land. Clear the runway.
That's my only complaint. You need to zoom in so I can just figure out what runway I need to be at. Because every time I land, it's like... Not every time, but sometimes I land, I have no idea what runway is, unless I can pull up a map. And that's not always feasible. because some of these airports are small. They don't really have, you know, easy accessible maps on.
Beechcraft X-ray Golf Sierra contact ground on 121.9er.
Oh, I'm done.
121.9er Beechcraft X-ray Golf Sierra. Key West ground Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to parking. Beechcraft Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway Alpha. Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway Alpha Beechcraft X-ray Golf Sierra.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Alright. There we go. Let's try that again. Why did I keep putting the flaps up? Did I hit that plane? Let's say no. Alright. So, I haven't really flown this plane. I don't know where the propellers are. Oh, well. Oh, wait. Hold on. I gotta get rid of that, don't I? There's all these buttons. I don't know what they do. Well, anyway, just kind of a short, fun video. Hope you guys enjoyed.